Welcome to the Rise Above show with Patricia Jo Grover, where we rise above challenges and we turn believers into achievers. I want to take just a moment and thank our sponsors, 133 Proof Funding. They have funding available for businesses to get started or people that have been struggling to keep their businesses open and keep people employed. They also do consumer funding. So for people such as myself, there's a funding available for people who may need to hire coaches and consultants or even plastic surgeons. It's really amazing what they can do. So today with me, I have Sean Porter. And let me tell you a little bit about Sean. He is from Maine, that's where I am. And I actually know Sean's father and grandfather and grandmother, and it really is a wonderful place to live and raise your children. Sean has a podcast that he started, and it's called Mainly Story. And he grew up in the greater Bangor area, and he loves to take photos, and he loves to spend time with his family. So I want to introduce him and kind of get him to be able to explain a little bit more about what he envisions for his podcast. So welcome to the show, Sean.
Thank you for having me.
Again, everybody has gone through shifts and pivots with what we've had going on with the globally and global economy. Many people have lost jobs that they had, or businesses have had to close. And many people are having to learn different skills. And you and I were talking earlier. I didn't realize, when I started doing what I was doing, that I would be getting into doing my own show and all the technical things involved. So there is a lot of technical behind the scenes stuff with a show like mine or a podcast. So how, Sean, did you get into doing a podcast?
So I've been listening to podcasts pretty frequently for the last, I want to say, 2 years now. I got more intense, you could say, when the pandemic hit. I struggle with anxiety, so the best way for me to kind of like cope is really to like get my mind off what's racing through my head and listen to podcasts. It used to be TV, and I've been trying to wean myself off of as much television. So that's where the podcasts really started to help. And I thought about doing one, and I was like, I don't really want to. And then I was talking to a few friends at work, and we started doing one at work. And then I really wanted to do one because I enjoyed it so much at work on my own, because it's through work. So there's certain stipulations that we have to have in order to have it go live. We only want it to be a certain length of time, and I don't want to be restrained to anything. I wanted something that would be mine. If I want to go for 15 minutes, I can. If I want to go for 3 hours, I can. So that was really important to me, so that I'd have that freedom. So I thought about what I would do, and I really wanted to focus on people and really who they are as a person, kind of what their thoughts and ideas are. And I wanted to do one with my grandfather to really get to know who he is as a person, and not just my grandfather. Unfortunately, he does not want to do it, which is fine. I get it. It can be a little intimidating to do a podcast. So I completely respect his wishes. So yeah, that's what really kicked it off. And I bought some of the equipment for work, because I work with a government contract, and it's kind of difficult to get funding sometimes. So I bought the equipment for work on my own. I brought that stuff home, and my wife's friend was over visiting, and they were getting ready to leave. And I was like, hey, you want to do the podcast? And that was my first one. And so I just kind of did it, and we did it in the garage. It was kind of a crappy setup, but we made it work. And
hey, there you go.
Yep.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you and I were talking a little bit, and you were sharing some ideas of things that you would like to do with your podcast. And again, it's the name and the topic is mainly stories, right? And so and a lot of things can people some people are tremendous storytellers, and storytelling can do many things. Storytellers, and if somebody's good at that, they can sell you something through telling a story that you don't even realize that you're, because it's so engaging, and you're like, you get, and it makes those connections and everything, right? Where whereas some people, um it's just the warmth that you feel when you're listening to a story and you make that connection. It's kind of like, oh wow, that's so nice, or oh that's sweet, or there's the different emotions that attach to stories. And like you said, people like your grandfather, and there are so many people out there that have so much wisdom. Oh my goodness, there's the wisdom that you know can be shared. And there are many, I know myself, there are many people that I've had in my family that I wish I would have gotten to sit down and taken that time to sit down and get more of, because you got together at family gatherings, and that you always heard somebody was telling a story. There's no way around it. Somebody was telling a story. But that stuff didn't stick being younger. And it would be great to be able to have that and remember it now. So what other ideas did you have for your podcast, Sean?
So eventually, I want to put together like a morning show. Um, Maybe do the weather, but I'm not really sure about that. Just because I want to, I want to make it as easy for me as possible because I do work a full time job on top of it. So the podcast is more of a hobby and a dream for me than it is anything to make money on. So my goal is to have like a morning show where every morning there would be different segments from this day in history, um, weird facts or fun facts, something along those lines. Maybe teasing some of the podcasts that I have coming up, and then anything else that comes to mind really. I want to kind of put it in there about 15 to 20 minutes. That's a lot further down the line, but the one that I'm currently working on right now, um, besides the long form conversations, is actual stories from Maine, based on uh, cool things that have happened in Maine, weird things that have happened in Maine, and really kind of getting in the history of Maine and telling Maine stories.
Right. So there's one that you're going to be starting out with. Can you share that, or is that too much of a share right now?
I will share season one, episode one. It'll be on the North Pond Hermit, and he was an individual that lived in the Maine woods just outside of Waterville for about 27 years and had almost no contact with the outside world, besides breaking into homes and
Yeah.
stealing food and supplies and stuff like that.
There are different, a bunch of different things. One of the things that came to my mind is in Bucksport, the lady's leg stone in the
Yep.
graveyard. Yeah, so there are some neat stories there. And one of the things you and I were talking about before we came on was just it the education that's available to us if we really look, and research things like why bridges and roads and parks are named after certain people. There's a lot of educational value to those things, and history. And I had told you that my husband and I had used to own a KOA campground franchise, and we would have people traveling across the United States in their RVs and homeschooling their kids by taking them to state and national parks. And hey, if they were driving down the road and they would see something named after it, hey, they Google it and research it and find out about it. So it's very interesting.
It is. And I think Maine has a lot of history that a lot of people from Maine don't necessarily know. So I think um, it's important that we can get that information out there in a format that seems to be growing considerably. And a lot of people like podcasts. Some people like long form, some people like short form. So that's why I kind of want to do a variety of different ones to kind of hit all the audiences to get that information out there.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. More and more people are, listening to audio versions of things because they can do it when they're on their walk or jogging or riding their bikes or, cleaning the house, all these different things. So I think that is fantastic. I think you have a great idea, Sean. And I wish you so much success in what you're doing and enjoyment because I want, that's the thing, you want to be able to enjoy it because it's that hobby, it's that interest. So do you have special gifts for our viewers and listeners?
Yeah, so if anybody wants to come on as a guest, you can go to mainlystory.com/booking and you can schedule a time to come on. Um, I'll give more detail to you. I don't want to give out specifically where I live,
Right.
but I do prefer to have the podcast in person. It makes it easier for me to read people and get their body language. Um, this the video format for this has been surprisingly working well for me, but I have gotten used to the video format because I have to do it a lot at work. So if you have a story you want to tell, you have story ideas, please reach out to me and let me know.
Oh, fantastic, Sean. Again, I wish you all the success. For anyone who'd like to find out more about me, you can go to patriciajogrover.com. And I have gifts for anybody who wants to text the word GOAL, GOAL, to 26786 if you're in the continental United States. But if you're outside the US, if you text GOAL to 1-888-926-4020, you'll get the same things coming to your inbox. And if you're not a texter, you can just email me at patriciajogrover@gmail.com and just mention watch the show in the title, and I will send you everything that I'm sending out everybody in text version. So wonderful again. Thank you, and we'll see you next time. And I have a little video on the way out. Bye bye.